Hello, my beautiful keto family. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how I lost over 190 pounds on the ketogenic diet and fasting. Now, I want to be completely transparent about my journey. So I'm going to tell you about my personal struggles, the mistakes I made, and how you can avoid them. Some of you will resonate with me and some of you won't. My hope is that this can help others out there struggling with the same struggles that I did. I also want you to know that regardless what you are fighting right now, what your struggles are, this is doable. This is possible, and it's so much worth it when you get on the other side. I have been battling with obesity my whole life, and I have tried every single diet on planet Earth. Some of them were successful, but for a short period of time, as I would gain back all the weight and I would gain back even more weight. I also tried to incorporate a workout regime in my everyday lifestyle, but frankly, I said I would be transparent, so I was just too lazy to do it. I always kept putting it off, saying that at some point I would figure it out, until I hit rock bottom. Rock bottom came when I had a hysterectomy performed and I went from being obese to being morbidly obese. I reached a level where I was weighing 396 pounds. I was struggling with depression and I was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. This all spiraled down and brought a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness, altogether just drowning me in fears. That's when I consoled myself in massive amounts of alcohol, adding the checkpoint of alcoholism onto my already very long list. The final strike came when, a little after the hysterectomy, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I had 2 large wounds on my legs that seemed to never heal. They would temporarily go away with massive amounts of cortisone. At that point, my whole life, including my marriage and my relationship with my family and friends, was all falling apart. But I didn't really fight it. I just accepted the defeat, a sort of maybe slow, unconscious suicide. And that is when the turning point came in my life. That is when I decided to claim my life back. All this started with a simple Google search. And guys, I wasn't even looking at how to lose weight. I never looked that up. What I Googled was a question that I never expected to find a response to. I asked how to treat diabetes without insulin. And that was my first encounter with the words ketosis and ketone bodies. After 2 months of extensive research, I dove headfirst into the ketogenic diet, something I really don't suggest. And this was one of my mistakes because it brought the dreaded keto flu that I suffered from for 2 weeks. And I was also going through withdrawal from carbohydrates and sugars. When you first start the ketogenic diet, I suggest you ease into it. I suggest you decrease your carb count, get rid of the white carbs for the first couple of weeks, then cut off the sugar completely, and then start your ketogenic diet. So when I first started, I would have the same breakfast every morning of eggs and bacon. I just wanted to keep it simple. And then I would have my coffee and I would top that with some heavy cream for added fats. Keep in mind that I was huge, so at 3,000 calories that I was eating a day, I was still losing weight. I would then accompany all my protein with either butter, heavy cream, or olive oil. I ate when I was hungry and I stopped when I was satiated. The hardest part about starting the ketogenic diet was all the misinformation and not having a starting guide, especially with all the people and the contradicting information. Which brings me to my second tip. Find up to 3 people that you feel speak to you and follow their process. Everybody has a very different process on their own ketogenic journey. Find the 3 that speak to you the most. This was the main reason that I started this channel, in order to be able to help people that were going through this confusion, just like me, have all the videos on all the information they need right from the get-go. After another month of research, I finally had it down. That is when I started to supplement. I started to supplement with vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium, and electrolytes. I also took B12, MCT oil, and collagen. I also downloaded a food tracking app where I set my macros at 75% fat, 20% protein, and 5% carbohydrates. But I still didn't restrict my calories. Now, a quick tip over here is when you're first starting, calculate your total carbs because there seems to be a lot of confusion. Calculate your total carbs until you feel comfortable enough to know how to separate the net carbs from the total carbs. I traded in my eggs and bacon for bulletproof coffee. I would start my morning with a very fatty coffee. I would add 1 tablespoon of MCT oil. That's where I would put my scoop of collagen. I would also add a teaspoon of cocoa, unsweetened cocoa powder, and to that I would top a little bit of heavy cream. I would then go ahead and have a fatty cut of protein for my lunch, and I would have a big green leafy salad with a very fatty dressing next to it. And if my protein was lean, then I would accompany it with some fatty sauce, usually based with white sauce and maybe some cheese. For dinner then, I usually had some Italian cold cuts and some Parmesan cheese. I also kept myself very hydrated with sparkling water and lemon. After about 2 months of this, then my appetite started to severely decrease. I was just not that hungry. And that's when I started looking into how to incorporate intermittent fasting in my ketogenic diet. I found that the easiest way for me personally to fast was to eat my last meal until 6 p.m. and then start my bulletproof coffee breakfast at 12 p.m. the next day. Which brings me to mistake number 3. Do not break your fast with fat. This coffee was so fatty. It had MCT oil, it had heavy cream, it had dairy, right? And you really don't want to break your fast with dairy either. And I would break my 18-hour fast with this coffee. Now, I know what I'm going to say is not really sexy, but here it goes. MCT oil and dairy act like a laxative when you're breaking your fast. Needless to tell you what would happen. So I researched some more into how to break my fast, and then I would start breaking it with lean protein half an hour before I had my bulletproof coffee. If you haven't figured this out by now, I do a lot of trial and error. I do a lot of experimenting on myself. Now, by all means, I am not suggesting you start acting like a guinea pig on your own body, but that's kind of what I did. After seeing that that didn't work for me, and after researching even deeper, I realized that there are specific ways you should break a fast. And I chose to break it with lean protein. So what I would do is at 12 o'clock, I would have a lean protein cut, just a very small amount. And half an hour after that, I would take my bulletproof coffee. 6 months into the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting is when I attempted my first extended fast, which then became a protocol for me. The first 3 days of every month, I would do an extended 72-hour fast. No, you do not have to fast for 3 consecutive days in order to achieve weight loss on the ketogenic diet. Actually, you do not even have to fast at all. You can still lose massive amounts of weight on the ketogenic diet. The reason that I practiced extended fasting was because I lost both my parents to cancer, and there's incredible benefits in long-term fasting, especially autophagy, which I have gone into detail in another video. But there are numerous health benefits with fasting, not just weight loss, and in extended fasting. And besides, I'm telling you what I did, right? Today, I have lost over 190 pounds, and I do not want to lose any more weight. But I also don't want to feel sick again. I don't want to go back into eating these massive amounts of carbs and sugars. I do not want to risk my life. I do not want to hear the word diabetes again. And I do not want to feel depression. So what I do is I maintain a ketogenic lifestyle where I have carefully crafted days that I purposely throw my body out of ketosis so that I can promote metabolic flexibility, that I can burn both fat for fuel and carbs for fuel. Now, believe it or not, losing 190 pounds was not my biggest achievement on my ketogenic journey, nor was reversing my type 2 diabetes. Claiming my life and my mind back from the depression and the post-traumatic stress disorder, that was my biggest achievement, because it is very empowering to realize what food alone can do to turn your life around. I am now committed to keep reading all the ongoing research and keep popping out videos so that I can help people like you claim your life back. Full disclaimer though, I am not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not a nurse. I'm here to tell you about my story, how I reversed my diabetes, how I lost my weight. And it is based on my own very extensive research. Now, I have helped people along the way, and I have coached people to achieve weight loss with the ketogenic diet. And I hope that this is enough to help you. And there you have it, how I lost over 190 pounds on the ketogenic diet and fasting. And as always, chin up or the crown slips.